Welcome to the Animal Rescue League. My name's Mick McAuliffe. I'm the Director of Behaviour Enrichment here for all species. Species we have in-house are dogs, cats, birds, all small animals, horses, and reptiles we send somewhere else to a carer. So, I'm not an Iowan. I originate from Australia. I worked in detection dogs in Australia for the Army, for quarantine service. I worked at SeaWorld Australia doing marine mammals. Used to do rehab and release of sick and injured seabirds and rehab and release of strandings. But also then those animals that can't be released, I would do conditioning behaviours and care, and that was birds, dolphins, seals, and that sort of led me on the path. I was already lucky enough to do some good stuff, but if I can walk a seal around SeaWorld without a leash, why do people pull on a dog's neck or use pinch collars, electric collars? Where I come from, they're actually illegal. So we don't even use that stuff. And I've been at the Animal Rescue League 10.5 years, and my whole responsibility now is ensuring the mental well-being of animals. Doesn't matter what species. For many, many years in animal shelters, it was disease, nutrition, and that was about it. So if they were cleaned, had good food, and are medically healthy, get them to adoption. But the thing we were lacking for many, many years is mental well-being. So that's been my biggest role here, brought enrichment. I was living in Chicago after Afghanistan. I was here doing a lecture on enrichment, so stress reduction for animals, and they liked it that much, they offered me a job, and here I am. But what I'm doing is reinforcing quiet behaviour. Now people think, well, you just paid that dog for barking. What actually happened was, when the dog went quiet, I went down there and it got reinforced. So that's why we're actually in a kennel block now and you can't hear barking. Even if dogs are barking and you're throwing treats across the top, so they get rewarded when you walk in the room. Misconception for many years and still today is that you're rewarding the barking. The barking is a symptom of arousal. So what we do is change the process, or we change the thinking of, instead of being all excited because someone's coming in, if I'm all quiet, I get more treats. And that way they start thinking then when you open the door, I calm down, I'm quiet, I'm waiting for treats, and then we reinforce that even more. So the barking gets less and less and less. Plus when you have more barking, there's more arousal, so more dogs bark. Becomes more, that doesn't help with your stress reduction. Back when I started, many, many years ago, there were no schools. There were no behaviour tracks, there were no universities offering behaviour programs, but now there is. I was lucky enough to come to the States and work with some of the world-leading veterinary behaviourists, plus one of those is in Australia. They took me under their wing. SeaWorld, I volunteered. So the biggest component is you need practical and you need theory. You need to understand the science behind behaviour. Behaviour is a science the same as vet care is a science. So there are lots of schools around at the moment, Check the certifications, check the qualifications and what you actually get for doing those studies. But extremely and then volunteer at a shelter or somewhere where they use positive reinforcement so you can practice and enhance those skills. Work with multiple species so then you can actually understand that the science works the same no matter what the species. The fundamentals of behaviour training are the same, whether it be human or any other animal. We just walk upright. We're all animals. So understanding positive reinforcement, as you can see, I haven't used no. There's no physical or verbal correction used. What we're doing is I waited 3 seconds, I asked him to be quiet, so I did a little shush, waited, then paid. What did I get? I paid the quiet. But you have to leave a 3 to 5 second gap, otherwise they learn to bark and get fed. So quiet is what you get fed for, not the barking. And that's enough. So, because we're standing here, that's all. Yeah, behaviourally, when an animal comes into the Animal Rescue League, the big thing is actually to have a conversation. Talk to us about your pet. They know the pet better than anyone else. You know, if I ask somebody, is your dog good with other dogs? That's a yes or no question. What I ask is, tell me, do you take your dog to the dog park or down to PetSmart or somewhere? Do you go out? Oh no, he gets too excited. Well, can you explain excited? Does he bounce around, or does he get all stiff and grumpy, or how do you mean excited? Oh, he barks a lot. Oh, is he staring at him when he barks a lot? And I'm asking these questions, so they start telling me a story. And they're very open about their dog, because what we explain to them that we want to do the best for their pet and find the best placement for their pet, so the more information they can give us, the better. So we do that at very initial intake, plus then we gather the information from the owner, from the staff, from the vet staff that actually check the animal in, if it needs to spay, neuter or dental, and then if there's any unsureness or when it's a stray, because we don't have that information, but we ask the animal control officers even, did you need a catch pole? Did it jump in the truck? You know, did it ride? I've seen dogs ride with the animal control officer in the passenger seat. So all that information we gather together, and then if it's a stray or unknown, we also then do a behaviour evaluation. We call them adoptability assessments. So, and then we get the staff feedback, then we watch them through adoption, and then we have a conversation also at the time of adoption. So it's not, oh, that dog, I wanted a Labrador, so that's the one I'm taking. No, does this pet fit you, and do you fit this pet? Five Freedoms came from England, agricultural, I believe, back in the late 60s, and it's a set of 5 guidelines that we should provide all animals in care, and that's freedom from distress, freedom from hunger and thirst, comfort, disease and pain, I forget that's the other one, pain and suffering. So, able to express natural behaviour. Well, the important one being the behaviour guide. Can't forget that. So they're the 5 grouped together. So that's part of the criteria that we use for euthanasia as well. Is that animal being provided the 5 freedoms? And living in fear and distress is what I was just explaining, is not a freedom. Animals with behaviour problems, we actually do what we call behaviour mod or behaviour modification. And a lot of places are doing a lot of work with fearful animals. We actually don't do that in shelter. What we actually do is we evaluate the pet, see what program is working with our behaviour team and our behaviour volunteers. So what strategies work best? Because the best place for an animal to be relaxed and learn that the world is okay is not in a shelter. As wonderful as shelters are now, they're still not a home. So our first goal is to get fearful, shy animals out to a home or to a foster home and rehabilitate them there. And we provide all that behavioural support and training. Then things like jumping, potty training, mouthing. If it's not an unsafe behaviour, we'll take as long as it takes to get that animal through adoption. So when you get a puppy, socialization windows, 12 to 16 weeks, they're closing. Of course, we also have to remember to stay safe with disease control and vaccinations, but you can still carry a puppy around. You can put the puppy in your car, take it to places. And there's a system we use here that's called PAST, Positive Association at Sub-Threshold. What I mean by that is teach puppies that all the things that comes in contact with are treat machines, are fun things. And what does sub-threshold? Sub-threshold is not the point where I'm stressed or frightened. It's that point where I acknowledge that thing and then good things happen. And that's a system we use here that our staff can remember it. We use a little acronym. So when I approach an animal, I want it to have a positive association, and that sub-threshold meaning so it's not worried or scared, it's willing to take treats and be happy or interact. Yeah, and then of course the 3 things that I want to teach any puppy, and any of my trainers that don't know these 3 things or recite them to me, we have to have a conversation. But the 3 things is bite inhibition, potty training, and socialization. So get them out, see things, be friendly, don't pee and poop in the house, and don't bite anyone. Or if you do, you do it softly. If you get those 3 things into a puppy, you can teach down, stay, come, all the rest of it in a couple of weeks. But those three things will keep a puppy in a home or a dog in its home for the rest of its life. Same with kittens. Teach them all those things. Teach them to be handled. Touch their feet. So nail trimming should not be a veterinary job. It shouldn't be a stressful encounter for an animal. If we can draw blood from tigers and seals and dolphins, why can't we trim a dog's nails? So that's how I look at it. All animals can be trained. All species can be trained. It's just to what level. I'm not conditioned to be a marathon runner, so don't put that expectation on me. The motivation is far too high. I'm not physically capable. So with our animals, we need to be respectful of one, do they want to do the exercise? And two, are they mentally or physically capable of doing the exercise? You know, I don't mean to be harsh to animals. There's bright and not so bright in everything, us included. We're all bright in different ways. So find out what your animal likes and let them have fun with it. And you can have fun with it.